Coming up on CTV News, the inquest into the unidentified victims of the quake, and we speak with Sarah's new Chief Executive, Roger Sutton. Welcome to CTV News, I'm Rob Cope-Williams. The inquest into the final 9 unidentified victims of February's quake took place in Christchurch today.
Chief Coroner Judge Neil McLean presided over the inquest into the deaths of the 9 unidentified earthquake victims at Riccarton Racecourse today. Judge McLean said the families have been unable to gain any closure and described the inquest as extraordinary. He made a number of opening comments to the family members and their supporters and other members of the public, which included consular and diplomatic staff, warning that the proceedings may be stark and formal, but it was part of the legal system.
To say that this is an extraordinary type of inquiry obviously is an understatement. We've never had to deal with a situation such as arose out of the events of the 22nd of February before. The feature that has complicated matters somewhat is the fact that there was a large number of people from other parts of the world who were in our city and who perished in the earthquake. I want to just acknowledge the presence today of not only relatives and supporters of the 9 unidentified persons who are the subject of this inquiry, to acknowledge the presence of representatives from the Chinese Embassy, the First and Second Secretaries and other consulate staff. You're very welcome here today, and I hope that you will be able to go away from this inquiry confident that the appropriate investigations have been made.
Canterbury District Crime Manager Inspector Paul Kench began by giving background information about the earthquakes. Inspector Kench praised the heroic actions of emergency services and members of the community. The final 9 are thought to have all been in the CTV building. The building suffered almost complete collapse and caught fire after the quake. Remains of the 9 were too incomplete for them to be identified, which was the purpose of the inquest. Inspector Kench stated that no identifiable remains of these people were recovered. Fingerprints, DNA testing, dental records and forensic pathology examinations had identified other victims of the quake, but none of these methods had been successful in identifying the final 9. Inspector Kench said there were no further avenues to identify the remaining people. Kench read similar evidence relating to CTV employees Matthew Beaumont, Sean Lucas and Valeri Volnov. He said witnesses from CTV staff had given evidence that Matty, Sean and Valeri were employed at CTV and were in the building that day. The men had not used their passports, cell phones or accessed their bank accounts since before the earthquake. Matty's parents told me the process was important in them moving on with such things as a memorial service.
There's just means recognition that the death did occur. There's no closure with it, obviously, because there can never be closure on such an event like this. But we've faced up now the reality of it, and we can move forward with the legal proceedings and with the memorial service.
However, Jeanette says they still don't know how they can move on.
Well, you did say before, where do we go from here? For me, to climb out of the black hole.
Although it was an emotional day for the families involved, Jeanette says it's what they've been waiting for and it wasn't as hard to hear as she expected.
No, it isn't as bad as I thought.
No.
But it's confirmation, and that's, what we wanted.
The Beaumonts say the support they've received has been overwhelming.
But also I'd like to say at this stage that the support we've had from all organisations over this period of time has been absolutely phenomenal. And there's so many people to thank. That family, been marvellous. Kelly's family, Jeanette's family, and the police, Harry, Anna, Wendy, Keith of the Salvation Army, so many other people who've helped us and guided us and have had to give us news that we didn't really want to hear, and they've just been tremendous. I've probably missed out a few names, but to everybody.
You've missed out hundreds.
Hundreds. Our friends and relations, it's just been absolutely, the support has been phenomenal.
172 people have now been identified with their bodies, and in some cases only body parts, were able to be released.
Coming up after the break, we speak to Roger Sutton and have a look at the Share an Idea event held over the weekend. Welcome back. Orion CEO Roger Sutton has taken on a new role as Sarah's Chief Executive. He explains what that new role will involve.
The job initially is trying to get the key infrastructure going around Christchurch and making the land decisions. And as much as anything, we're the organisation that's trying to help Christchurch get going. I don't see us as a bunch of Wellington bureaucrats, to use that expression, coming down here and telling everybody how it's going to be. We're the organisation that can help bring, if you like, the resources of the rest of the country down here to really get things going. And there may be subtle law changes or regulation changes so we can get things going. You know, I joke about restaurants. You know, at the moment, if you want to run a restaurant, I think you have to have stainless steel absolutely everywhere in the kitchen. Are there simple things we can do so we can start restaurants up in church halls where there's Formica? You know, what are the subtle, basic little rule changes we need so we can really get this town going again? But first of all, it's about the real infrastructure, the things that really make a difference to people's lives. Where can people live? Where are the houses going to be rebuilt? And getting things like the water and the sewage really going again. And then, of course, we also own the demolitions in the CBD. So there's a lot of buildings to be brought down, and we're in charge of that process. So that's not a minor job by any stretch of the imagination.
He's been described as a strong leader and has been praised as the best man for the job, but he acknowledges there is a huge job ahead of us.
Oh, the job is so big. Sometimes I go to sleep and I just think, I just can't believe the city is ever going to tackle this. But at the end of the day, there's already a lot of people in this town working really hard at making it really work. So I'm really confident we're going to get there. And we have to take the people with us. We have to communicate to people about how long it's going to be, what our milestones are going to be, and where we are just in our decision making.
Sutton has led strategic and operational development projects at chief executive level in the energy sector, and many believe this has given him the leadership, operational and communication skills required for this position. He says he believes communicating with the people of Canterbury is hugely important.
I think communication is incredibly important, and we just can't assume people know. Just don't assume at this time. I don't think we can be over-communicating at the moment. And, my emphasis is going to be on more ads with more information that look average rather than beautiful ads with less information. This is very much about getting key messages out there. People need that information so they can get on with their lives and start planning their own lives as well.
Andy says he learned a lot from the Share an Idea Expo, which was held this weekend.
I learned there's an awful lot of ideas out there. I learned that while a lot of people's lives are in a lot of people's lives are pretty broken, there's also huge energy out there. A lot of people do see this as an opportunity to replace what we had with something better. There were people there whose houses were clearly ruined and they're going to build a new one, who just want to talk about how they're going to build a new house that's going to be warmer and more comfortable and so on. And at that macro level, the CBD, which is really what the Expo was about, people do see there's an opportunity to build something better than what we had, because parts of the CBD were getting really run down. And let's really use this opportunity to build something where there really is a vibrancy, there really is action, there's a real feeling of we live in an international city where people really want to come and be part of it, whether as a tourist or where you want to live or where you want to work.
Sutton is currently the Chief Executive Officer of Orion New Zealand Limited and will continue to be so for another 3 weeks. He'll take up the position at Sarah on June the 13th.
And as Roger discussed, the Share an Idea event was held over the weekend and gave Canterburyans the opportunity to communicate their ideas on the rebuild of our city.
Congratulations to the council. I think they've done an excellent job. There's a very good turnout. Everyone's here to have their say. Couldn't ask for more. The theme that we like to push, yes, it's about buildings, but at the end of the day it's about the people. This is our community, and the rebuild's got to be based on what we as a community think and would like to see. So all we're emphasising is, hey, this is us as a community, let's do it together.
I think the best thing about local government is that you can have a city built for the city, by the city, and we're seeing this right now. I think that it's imperative that we also take this a step further and perhaps run a smaller version of this at the libraries and take it out to the wider community too. But what we're seeing right now is just a heck of a lot of input from a whole lot of talented people, and I think that's going to be superb for the future of Christchurch.
What do you think will come out of the event today?
I think the best thing is that I don't know. I think that there'll be some superb ideas that no one would have thought of, and to be able to enable the people of Christchurch to be able to actually get those great ideas put into practice and seen in the fabric of the future of the city is what it's all about. So I'm really excited to be here and to be living through this, and we're in very interesting times, but they're exciting as well. You know, as we look forward, what's done is done. We can't change that, and this is about the future now. So it's a heck of an opportunity.
On a personal perspective, I'm very much looking at, I'd like to see a Christchurch that's sustainable, green, lots of green spaces, lots of outdoor cafes, restaurants. On a personal level, not too worried about shopping. And I had a discussion last night with my wife. It's probably 25 years since she's been into the CTV to shop, go to the malls. Don't need to come into town, so I think that part of it needs a rethink. Is it the shopping centre, or is it the social, cultural area of the city with the clerical? So, but definitely sustainable and green for me.
There's some gaps, and I hope going forward, this isn't the end of the process this weekend. This is actually the start, and I think those gaps need to be addressed, particularly hearing from children and young people. I think that's of real importance. The other thing is this is very monocultural, and it would be really nice to have more engagement with our various ethnic communities, because the reality is Christchurch is going to be a very different coloured city in 25 years, 50 years. So it's really important we engage with the different cultural groups in our city, because they have a very significant contribution to make.
If Christchurch have shown they want to play a role in the rebuilding of our city, they've turned out in their hundreds. I think through the course of the weekend we're going to see thousands of people here, and that really is saying that Cantabrians are proud of their city, of its heritage. They want to play a very strong role in rebuilding it, and that's great.
Youthline has been assisting young people with concerns for decades, but to keep up they've had to change with the times. Kaneta Knight spoke with Tina Mackey on City Life.
Back in 1970 it was set up as a telephone helpline. That's how young people communicated. We're committed to being where young people are at and to operating how they choose to communicate. So now young people can contact us via the telephone, via text. We offer text counselling, also an information and referral service, and leadership and development programs as well.
Wow. And tell me about the staff that people call up and talk to over the phone.
Yeah, so our volunteers are really the heart of our organisation. We offer a very robust training program which trains them to become telephone and text counsellors, and they are the people who the young people contact when they contact Youthline.
Now I hear you're relocating.
That's right. We, prior to February, were located in the central city, and so like a lot of businesses, we have needed to relocate. We are not able to access our building, not able to access any of our equipment, computers, files, etc.
Wow.
Maybe a bit uniquely to other businesses, our service is needed much more than ever at the moment.
Gosh, yeah. Do you feel like you're starting from scratch now that you are relocating?
It's a really interesting question. And in one sense, we are feeling like we're starting from scratch. As I mentioned, all of our files, equipment, etc. remain inside our building in the central city, and we're not able to access that. So, in a sense, we are starting from scratch in terms of new furniture and computers and IT networks, etc. In another sense, we're building on a really strong foundation. We're building on the 40 years that we've had here in Christchurch. We're building on the wonderful people who we work with. We're building on our kaupapa, our culture, what makes us Youthline. We're building on our really good connections that we have within the community. So in a sense, no, we're not starting from scratch. We're building on the really solid foundation that we already have.
Okay. And has there been a disruption of services during the relocation?
No, for services for young people. No, there hasn't. The beauty of our system is that when our IT systems and phones crashed in February and likewise in September, automatically a new system kicks in and other youth line organisations around the country are able to pick up those calls and answer those texts from young people. So it's just fantastic that when the service is so needed, young people have had no interruption to the quality or the type of service that they are receiving.
Coming up after the break, we take a look at healthy eating in schools and your weather. Welcome back. The Women's Institute has lent a helping hand to those facing a cold winter in the eastern suburbs.
Help has arrived ahead of a cold winter for residents of South New Brighton.
The Women's Institute in Napier got together when the Federation and called out to all their members, and they rounded up this, and there was 30 boxes that came down on 2 big pallets, and they came down with Toll. I think Toll gave it to them, bought it down for nothing. And then when it was coming, when I knew it was coming, this was a wee while ago, and then when I knew what was coming and how much, I rang around to see if I could find somewhere where I could take it. I tried North New Brighton, but they had that much, they didn't know what to do with it. So I tried South New Brighton, and they'd never had anything down here. So I'm pleased we came here. There's an awful lot gone. We'd be lucky if we've got about 4 or 5 boxes left, so I don't know. And whatever is left, we're going to send to the Salvation Army. We're going to get them to come and pick it up because they'll be able to use it for other people in the area.
And the handout proved popular for cold residents, with some being told they could face power cuts throughout the winter.
It's a bit nerve-wracking. You've always got a torch sitting there beside you because you just don't know when it's going to happen.
Oh, well, I'm from Bexley, so yeah, we didn't come out very good.
We had a lot of help initially for the first month or so, but it's kind of sort of petered out now, so this is quite nice to have something like this.
Oh, it's a lovely boost, yeah. And it's really good because like everybody's getting together and actually helping out everybody, and it's like everybody's in the same boat, and it's really cool.
Great. Pleased we can help.
And Pam says she wants to help out residents who may have been forgotten.
This, to me, is a reward. It really is a reward for me to be able to do something for other people.
It does, it helps tremendously.
There's a long-time belief that students who eat well will learn more than those who don't. But thanks to some work being done by the Canterbury District Health Board, healthy eating in schools can happen, and it's essential, especially after the recent disruptions.
We want people to, or young children especially, to be eating a wide variety of foods, lots of different kinds of foods. Make sure you're eating enough food to make up for your activity and your growth, of course. Avoid foods high in fat, salt and sugar, so that's takeaways, for instance, sugary drinks, sweets, things like that. Also wanting to drink plenty of water, make sure you get plenty to drink each day, and get regular physical activity.
Okay, so since the earthquake, what are the issues for young people in schools?
Well, schools have been a bit different since the earthquake, and it has sort of disrupted people's routines. We know several schools in Christchurch who are actually sharing with another school, and that's been really quite disruptive to parents and pupils. For instance, if you're the first lot of students at that school, you're starting earlier than normal, so breakfast is disrupted, and then you get a brief break in the morning, a sort of lunch-ish sort of break at 11 o'clock, which is only about 20 minutes, and then finish school and sort of got the rest of the afternoon to be free or go to a mall or something like that. Whereas the ones who come in afterwards start around the lunchtime, so that's the time they'd normally be eating, and they're off being busy getting to school. They have a break around 3 for their lunch and aren't getting home sometimes till quite late at night, so it can really be disruptive to eating routines, and that's something we're really trying to help out with.
Okay, so what are community and public health doing about this?
Well, obviously part of the school setting is an important part in a young person's life. They spend quite a bit of their time there, and a big role in their nutrition is the school canteens. So we've been working with home economic classes and trying to develop healthy products for the canteens and coming up with new ideas, because it's a bit of a challenge when you're running a canteen and you've got to think of all these different things that young people are going to buy. You haven't got a lot of time, and you have to make money. So engaging the young people in that process has been a big push for our work, and getting them involved in what can be in their canteen. So each classroom comes up with some ideas and recipes, and they talk to the wider school and have a suss out of what's going to be most popular, and then they pick a pair to present and have it filmed. So they do like a cooking demo and teach people how to make it, and then they have it filmed by CTV, and so they even be aired on CTV.
So what benefits have you seen from this project?
Well, the project actually came about because we were working with school canteens, trying to promote healthy food in the school canteens, and they said to us, well, look, students won't buy healthy food, so we're going to lose our jobs because we're going to not be paid because we're going to get no income from selling healthy food. So we thought, how can we work on this to make it a positive thing for the canteen managers, so that we're not just saying to them, you must sell healthy food and leave it at that, because that doesn't really help anyone. So we thought, we'll go to their market, who are the students, and we got these students developing the healthy foods that they would like to try in the canteens. And now it's come about that lots of these canteen managers are actually trialling these products that the students have developed, and it's been a real positive experience for everyone involved. So we're really pleased with how it's gone this year.
Good. Yeah. So what's the food that they're selling in the canteens?
Variety, isn't there?
Yep. Yeah. We had some dumplings, steamed dumplings. It was an Asian influence. Yep. Calzones, filled calzones. Wedges.
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Our own Jamie Olivers. But here's Sasha now with the weather.
Hi everyone. A strong westerly airflow moved over the South Island today. Temperatures reached the mid-teens for most places. Cold there in Arthur's Pass with a high of just 10. Tomorrow things take a turn for the worse, I'm afraid. Fine at first in Kaikoura with a high of 13, but then cold southwesterlies and wintry showers develop during the late afternoon. A good evening for staying in and wrapping up warm. A dry but mostly cloudy morning changes to a showery afternoon for Hemna, with snow flurries during the evening. Southwesterlies become strong and cold. A chill 9 degrees is your expected high. In North Canterbury, make sure you enjoy the morning as your Tuesday afternoon goes downhill with cold southwesterlies and maybe even some hail showers. 13 is your expected high. Fine at first for Christchurch, but it gets decidedly chilly during the afternoon with blustery southwesterly winds and wintry showers. Tomorrow's high at 13, down to 7 degrees overnight tonight. Same story there for Ashburton. A nice morning, but by the afternoon we see a cold southwesterly change. Some showers are expected with hail possible and some snow on the hills. Gusty westerlies in Timaru in the morning, but things turn wintry as southwesterlies take over and showers develop in the afternoon. 13 is your high. Looking to other areas now, cold southwesterly winds bring afternoon showers and keep temperatures low everywhere tomorrow. Rain in the morning too there for Arthur's Pass and Greymouth. But don't worry, the good news is that Wednesday is set to be an improvement. Any early snow and hail showers clear and sunny periods increase during the morning, with those strong cold southwesterlies decreasing. Gusty cool westerlies continue to decrease on Thursday, making for a mostly fine and sunny day. So make sure you wrap up warm tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
And that's CTV News. I'm Rob Cope-Williams.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.